If you look online, you will see that there are many definitions or many meaning to order blocks. My definition of order block is much more simple. And I know it's not perfect, and I know it will miss perhaps other areas that are also order blocks, but that's fine by me because simple is better. The simpler you make something, the easier it is for you to execute it, to remember what to do, and the less chance you have of making mistakes. Simple. It is a reversal candlestick pattern, and in practice, what that means is a engulfing or an outside bar. You don't have to have the same rule as I have. You just have to use the same rule from the beginning during your backtesting all the way through while trading live, and that is how you gain consistency. I'm going to be talking about order blocks. That is one of the main concepts that I trade. And I think in trading, you have, if you go on YouTube and if you've been in the space for some time, there are so many options, so many variations, so many strategies. And I think if you know how to look for edge, most of them will have some sort of edge, right? You can make them profitable. Doesn't mean all of them, you just trade them anyway and you'll be profitable. But if you go methodically to it, most strategies you can extract profit from them. That's my belief. But I think instead of having, well, I've traded many strategies before. Instead of having like different things, I would like, it's my personal way of doing things. I like to focus on a few things, right? That way you can go much deeper into the subject and be better at it. Be a specialist on one thing or maybe a few things instead of being able to, a lot about everything, right? Or a little bit about everything, right? So, and that's exactly what I did. I focused only on order block, and there are many strategies out there, but that's fine by me. One of the concepts that I trade, you guys have been seeing my me talking before, either on YouTube or in Discord. You guys know that I trade order block. I'm known for that. That's my strength. Order blocks and Quasimodo, which I'll be talking about tomorrow. So do tune in tomorrow as well. Order blocks. What are order blocks? All right, you see many people saying order blocks, OB, but what are they? If you look online, you will see that there are many definitions or many meaning to order block. And I think it's important from the beginning to know what I'm talking about, why I do it the way I do it, right? If you look, one of the definitions for order block is an area where a large number of buy and sell order are placed waiting to be executed, right? That's one of the general definitions. And I think it is true that it is an area where a lot of traders limit orders are waiting for price to come to and before they participate in the market. But that definition, although it is true, it is valid, at least it didn't help me, because so how do I know where those limit orders are? You can't see them on the Forex market. Forex market is a decentralized market, so there's no single exchange for you to see those orders waiting there. So although the definition is correct and valid, it doesn't really help you when you're actually going to identify them, spot them, and trade them. So that's why I like my definition of order block is much more simple. And I know it's not perfect, and I know it will miss perhaps other areas that are also order block, right? But that's fine by me because simple is better in trading. There are so many things you have to be good at, right? Risk management, your mindset, your entries, your stop loss placement, your focus, handling your emotions, greed. And so you want to keep things as simple as possible. And that's why I like to use engulfing and outside bars as the definition for order block, right? Think about it. When you say an area where limit orders are waiting to be traded, where traders are waiting for price to come back, the first question, when I hear that, the first question is, okay, but how do I know which one is it? Which area is it? If I'm looking at this chart, let me see if you guys are seeing it. Yes. Fernando says yes. The KISS principle. Yes. Keep it very simple. That is indeed my thought about, and you should do this too, because the simpler you make something, the easier it is for you to execute it, to remember what to do, and the less chance you have of making mistakes. And there are mistakes everywhere as a trader if you don't watch out, all right? You can do so many mistakes. And even if you did everything else well, if you do that little thing wrong, it will prevent you from extracting that profit. Okay, so let me catch a chart that doesn't have many things on it. So if I look at this chart, right, still haven't shown what an order block to me is, but if I look, for example, this area, is this, when I see the definition, it says an area where large orders are placed. Is this an area? I would ask myself, is this an area? Why would this be an area and perhaps not this one, or perhaps this one, right? So to me, it's a bit subjective, and that is something I think, if something is subjective, makes it harder for you to be consistent on it, because it depends on your interpretation of it. It depends on perhaps how you feel that day. Do you feel you want to hit the market? If that's the case, maybe you will not be so selective. And other times when you had some losses, maybe you're fearful and you're not accepting the same place as an order block, right? So I like to keep it simple and have objective definitions of an order block. So to me, an order block is this simple. It is a reversal candlestick pattern, and in practice what that means is a engulfing or an outside bar. Very simple. Such a objective definition, there's very little room for error, right? Because it's objective. What makes something engulfing
Can I just hop in and
Sure.
Ask you a question, if that's okay, Victor? So
Go ahead.
And honestly, this is completely new to me. The fact that we're looking at engulfing candles and outside bars. Now, this is not, the way I look at order blocks, or the way I learned about order blocks, is basically like I don't know if it's like a bullish order block, but when you have an up move, it's like the last bearish candle before a strong move to the upside. So that's what I thought the definition of order blocks is. But is this something that you have added, the engulfing candles and outside bars?
Yes, what I did was I looked at other people's order block on YouTube. Everywhere I saw other analysis, and I said, what am I seeing? What is there that I can objectively identify that as an order block, even without anyone else telling me it is? And to me, the simplest, most objective way to do that is by defining it as an engulfing or an outside bar. Because when many people have that, I've seen that definition too, where it needs to have a move, right? And that last bar, let's say in this case, here you had a strong move to the downside, and that would make the definition where the order block is this bar, right? This bar that was engulfed, and then you have a big movement. That definition makes sense to me, and actually it is a very good one. However, the problem I have with this is, what is a great move? You have to define that in order for it to be objective. If you don't define that, would you say this move is that's just one candle? Let me get another example. Would you call this move perhaps an engulfing or not? Sorry, an order block. So this area, right? Do you call this an order block or not? Because it did have a move, right? And so on. You can, to me, my goal is to have it as objective as possible. And the only way for me to do that, I could use that definition as well, but I will have to make an objective rule as to how far and how quickly price needed to have moved for that to be identified as an OB, right? So there is a question, actually a very good one. It says, how do you differentiate engulfing and OB? I don't. To me, it is the same. An engulfing to me is an OB.
Well, let me just
go ahead.
Any questions that I have, I'm just going to ask
Yes.
them, okay? Because I think a lot of you in the comments here, you probably had the same question. So when you say like, differentiate between engulfing and OB, you say, I don't, but I'm guessing the engulfing can only be an order block if it's in the right location.
No, because what is the right location is my second question to you, right?
I think the right location is, if we go back to like the original idea of what an order block is, it's at the top or the bottom of a strong move, right?
Yes, that is a valid, and it's a very good indication of a good order block. Yes, but I do not use that, because once you introduce in the definition something else, you need to make that as objective as possible. Because what is right location? What is at the bottom of a move? What move are you referring to? Is it a 20 pips move? Is it a 100 pip move? Is it 50% of the ATR? So all those, whenever you introduce more to the definition, you're introducing subjectivism to what is an OB or not. And I try to move away away from that, because when I do my back testing, when I getting or forward testing, I need to be objective. Is this 100% certain? Is this is or isn't an OB? And I can, of course, most cases you will see an OB and it will stand out when you want to find one. I can spot one and say, okay, this is a great one. For example, this one, because the move started here, right? There's no discussion. This is there's gonna be a few traders not agreeing that this is a great move, this is a significant move, but that is not the problem. The problem is when you're doing back testing, you're not only gonna get these kind of movement, you're also going to get smaller moves, less significant. Where is the threshold? When do you stop accepting it as an OB, and when it and isn't it? Maybe that's how I work, but I need something to be clear. I can say 100% right, this is or isn't an OB, because then I can move on with my trade plan because I checked one box, right? If it leaves me with that doubt, in my opinion, you're building a system that's going to have some variation, and it's not going to be good for your consistency. And that's the goal. The goal is to be able to have a consistent approach, a consistent process in order for you to get those consistent results, right? And the way I identify and I define the order block, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. I mean, in the sense of what kind of strategies are you familiar with, is engulfing for everyone. There's no room for discussion there, right? Because it only uses price. It used the open of bar one, right? Last week, I think it was last week, yes, I talked, or before in any case, I talked what is an engulfing. For those who don't know, I will tell you right away, because I think it's important to have everyone on board. So an engulfing is when the body of one candlestick, right? This is right, this is the body, right? These are the wicks, right? And typically you have wicks on both sides, not always, but as you can see, you do have on both sides most of the time, right? But an engulfing is when the body of one bar, the body of this bar, engulf is much bigger. Engulf meaning it closes beyond the length of this previous bar, right? So the body is much bigger, so big that it engulfs, right? The word says it already. It engulfs the previous bar, right? There is no room for interpretation there, and that's what I like, because we need clarity. We need objective rules if we want to work towards consistency. All right. So that is one definition. The definition I use is just an engulfing. I know it's not perfect because it doesn't take anything else into account, right? Like the how big the move was, etc. But it is the benefit I get from it, that is much more objective, because I don't have to define the move, how big the move needs to be, or what kind of move needs to be, how many bars the move has to be, etc. Okay, so this is an engulfing, right? The candlestick, the bigger one, engulfs the previous one, right? So this is a bearish engulfing, and there are many variations as to how you mark it. Some people mark the whole bar, the whole previous bar, as the order block, right? Including the highest of the wick, right? So you would be, in this case, this wick is higher than the previous one, so you have the top of the order block onto the second one, right? This could be, and that's a perfectly valid order block. Personally, I use this as the order block. So I use the open of the previous candle, right? If you can have different variation, and that there's no problem. There's no like one right way to do it, right? Because what's important is that you build your system, your strategy, using the same rule all the time. That's what's most important. You don't have to have the same rule as I have. You just have to use the same rule from the beginning, during your backtesting, all the way through while trading live, and that is how you gain consistency, right? Because you're doing the same thing. If you're changing your rules, right, in the beginning you're doing it one way, and through time you're doing another way, you're introducing variation in your process, and obviously that's going to produce variation in your results, right? That is something we do not want.